Hello, everyone, and welcome to Varsity Aces Live. I'm sports writer Greg Mattura for NJSIAA and The Record. Tonight's topic, New Jersey's winter sports season. When is it going to start? When is it going to end? When will the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association let us know? They're supposed to notify us by Friday, November 20th, how the winter season is going to proceed. Tonight, we've been assembled an incredibly experienced and yet youthful cast of people to talk about that tonight. So let me start right away with my co-host, Paul. He's in his 50th season as a sports writer at the NJSIAA and The Record. My co-host for the evening, Paul Schwartz. Paul, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Greg?
I'm not too bad. I'm hanging in there. Then, representing boys basketball, he is entering his 42nd season as a Bogota boys basketball coach, 687 career wins, second all time in Bergen County history. Please say hello to Bogota boys basketball, Jay Mahoney. Jay, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you.
And then representing girls basketball, he is entering his 48th season as the Pascack Valley girls basketball coach. He's also won a couple of games, the only girls coach in New Jersey history to win more than 1,000. He's got so many, he's not sure. We think he's got about 1,060. Please say hello to Jeff Jasper.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. And that's the only time I ever heard Mahoney so quiet.
Yeah. I know, right? I didn't know that's how I calm him down. And I just love this because I am the young punk of this group here. I'm loving that. Let's jump right in with the first question. Again, the NJSIAA is supposed to make notification by Friday, November 20th, what the winter season, also known as season 2, is going to look like. So, Jeff, I'll start with you. What do you anticipate and what are you hoping for in the winter season?
Well, I have been incredibly cautiously optimistic about this the entire way, even to today, even though Connecticut has gone to postpone their winter season. The number of football programs that just recently shut down right here in Bergen County. Daily, we get, we're in and out of being virtual and live at Pascack Valley and Pascack Hills. I get all that. But I am really optimistic that on Friday, we're going to get something that's going to allow the winter season, particularly basketball, to begin. And so I'm excited. I don't think they're going to leave us out there. I think they're going to get us sometime in that gym. We haven't seen our kids since the beginning of March. And they're so eager to get going. Everybody says that the safest place for kids is in school. That's where no one's ever transmitted in school. It's always happening out. So give us, I just tell the NJSIAA, give us a chance, put us in there. We'll handle it.
Jay, same question over to you. What kind of expectations do you have? What are you hoping for in this winter season?
I'm not hopeful at all. I don't understand the indoor gatherings. I'm in a small school, but a big school where you could have 80 kids trying out for a team, and you also have wrestling, and you also have girls basketball and indoor track, and I hear, people say, how come we can't go to school in person, yet we want to have sports? And then with New York and Connecticut, I honestly do not think we're going to start. I think they're going to push it back a month. I mean, I have my own little schedule if anybody wants to hear it later on, but I don't foresee us starting at all next Thursday.
Jeff, let me ask you. Normally, and I'll ask the same question to Jay too. Normally, this time of the year, I mean, it usually would start, I guess, the Friday after Thanksgiving or Friday before Thanksgiving.
Monday before.
You would be doing stuff now. The kids would be maybe an open gym or whatever. What has gone on preliminarily so that if we were to start either on time or somewhat delayed, where are you when your kids walk in the gym and you see them for the first time, whenever that is?
That's a great question, Paul. I'm going to say almost nowhere. Our districts have been, and this from the NJSIAA now, the AAU people and the club people, they've been able to do whatever they want with youth sports. But as far as high school coaches, we've had to have our hands off and our mitts out of there. So, aside from kids getting together maybe on their own outside someplace, there's been nothing going on. And what we missed, and Jay and I chatted about this earlier a little bit, we're guys that go, our summers are our times of great teaching, with our camps and clinics and summer leagues. That's where we get so much of our work done. And, we missed all of that. So, we're going in, we're cold. But if they said that we could start tomorrow, we'd be ready.
Jay, same thing. I have anything to add to that?
Well, I totally agree with Jeff. And it's like just insane just to try to get kids to get permission slips and physicals. The last month I've spent with my limited technology with text and emails, and that's a struggle. And then you don't see them in person. And I think Jeff and I are the same. Our relationships with our kids are what makes our program, and that has been taken away from us, which I understand. And I just can't wait to see the kids on whatever day that is.
Let me follow up on that. Will that, though, give, and again, it's not about wins and losses, although both of you have plenty of wins and are going to win plenty more games if and when we start. But does that, what both you and Jay talked about, Jeff, does that give you a little bit of advantage, assuming that everybody else is in the same boat? Because the kids know what you demand. They know what you expect. They're disappointed like you are that you haven't been able to do the preparation. But again, comparing yourself to other programs that are in the same boat as you, will you still be able to be a little bit ahead when you get started?
Well, I'd say from the first part of your question, certainly on what the expectations are to play for Pascack Valley, yes, they certainly know what the expectations are and they'll be ready for that. But for any of the teams out there who are returning really experienced players, they certainly have a leg up on all of us, right? And I'm going to go to something that Jay just mentioned, and that is both of us are very intense guys, and part of our intensity comes because we have such great relationships and build such great relationships with our kids. To someone who watches us from the top row somewhere would say, how can he get away with that? And that's a great picture of Mahoney right on there now. But how can you get away with that? But in truth, we have built such a bridge with our kids that we're able to, coach and practice the way we do. And so that's an important thing. Yes, we will still have those relationships, but of course, those things are built over time. So I don't know how much of a leg up we have on that because we'd be starting pretty much like everybody else at that stage, And one other thing, Paul, that I would fail to mention, and that is that a lot of schools have played in fall leagues. They've got some of their high school teams are basically their AAU teams, wherever. So a lot of those, there's a handful of schools that have been playing regularly, doing what they do. So I know for those of us in our little bubble where we haven't been doing squat.
Jay?
Well, we have a bunch of kids coming back, but the problem in a small school like ours is every year we have to rely on a freshman or a kid who last year was academically ineligible, or a kid who didn't play last year, maybe because he didn't like me or whatever. And for those kids, not having been around them since March 15th, it's culture shock. So I don't know. I mean, I would just be happy to have a season where you could, at least see the kids and play some games and have practice. But I just think that not being around them since the 15th of May is not a good situation.
Now, if we were on a normal schedule, we would be starting, I believe, Monday, November 23rd.
Yes.
I've been to both of your first days of practice in years past, Jay. I fouled out of yours in about 10 minutes. Jeff, you just threw me out of the gym. That was fair. I asked too many questions and kept coming on the court. So what do you envision would be a reasonable starting date for preseason tryouts, as we would call it, where you still could have a reasonable preseason of preparation? And then what would be your hope for starting the regular season? What would be a good regular season starting date? Jay, may we start with you, please?
Yeah, you sure can. And again, I hate to be a killjoy, but I think we should start with season 3, which was volleyball and gymnastics. Because it's only 2 sports. And then I think we should go to spring. And then I think we should be last, because I don't think this pandemic, I see it all over the place. People don't wear masks. And like kids would hand their permission slips in, they'd see me, they'd throw the mask on. So this isn't going anywhere. Wait till Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's going to be insane. And if they keep our schedule the way it is, we're not going to have a season.
Jeff, same question to you. What would you like to be the preseason starting date, and when would you like the regular season to commence?
Well, I'm all for beginning next Thursday on December 3rd. And I would say, quite frankly, I don't think the season's going to begin, before the December holiday, which is fine. I'm saying we take the entire time from December 3rd until after the December time as pure practice time. I'd like nothing better than to drill and teach and work with those kids between now and then. And I know they'd be safe because, once again, I say when they're in school and they're under our guidance, they are safe. So just give us longer practice time. And then if after Thanksgiving we have to, schools are going to be quarantined for 2 weeks, or I'm sure are going to be remote. And I'm sure that after the December holidays, it's probably going to be pretty much the same thing as people are together, and there will be some quarantine. But for those of us who can practice, let's practice. Let's put them right in the gym and keep the numbers down, as we will, and drill them and teach them and get them in the best condition they can be. To me, that would make up for the whole lost time that we've had to this point. And I don't care if we ever play a game. I really don't. But I really want to practice. And that's what I love to do, because that to me is truly where the real teaching and the relationships are built. If we never played a game this season, I wouldn't have a problem. But I do want to have as many practices as possible.
Jay, let me ask you, though, following up, because you do have differing opinions, although I know you're coming from the same place. You have a relatively small program. And I know, Jeff, you have 20 kids on the bench, and that's been a tradition for many years at Pascack Valley, and they're part of your program as much as your best player every year. But in order for something to happen, what you've thought, and that's why I'm addressing it to Jay, what do you think the kids have to do when they're not in school with you? And will those kids commit to making the true sacrifices that will allow them to have any kind of a season?
I don't think so, because they're teenagers. I mean, my son and daughter put me on Facebook a couple of years ago. I don't make any comments, but is my ex-students that are now moms and stuff saying, I'm having my Thanksgiving no matter what, and nobody's going to tell me how many people I can have. I live behind a park. I've been watching this with my wife for the last 7 months. No one is changing. So this is not going away. And unfortunately, we got indoor sports. That's why I'm saying put gymnastics and volleyball coming right up, and then evaluate it from there.
Jeff, what do you think? I mean, you're the optimistic one here.
Yeah, I'm much more optimistic than Jay and many of the other coaches I speak to, because I really do think, I teach, I have of the classes I teach, 3 of my classes are senior AP kids who are many of them are athletes. And I ask them, and they're very committed to their teams here in the fall, whether it be their girls and boys soccer, whether it be their football, the cross country, whatever. They're very committed to policing each other. They admit that they end up going to places where they shouldn't be, but they are there with masks and socially distancing. the people who they travel with, they stay in their little pods so that they are not with strangers as such. I think they're very disciplined on that. There are the outliers, of course, who end up going to the little parties, and then they're the ones who come down with the positive tests. I get all that, but I do not want to paint those handful of kids who are out there. My faith is with the mainstream group, who I think they're very committed to having their teams and having their sports, and will take good care of themselves and their teammates. And that's why I think it's so important that we actually get them all into the gym to once again reinforce how important this team thing is, and that they have to have each other's backs, and they will do that. I look at our football program, for example. Those kids are all awesome with each other. Both our soccer programs are the same. They're looking out for each other. So I know my kids would be looking out for each other, and so will Coleman. So, and so will Galleones in wrestling. I think they'd all be together looking to make sure, what? We want this, and this is important to us, but we need to be together to make sure it happens. So that's why I say we need the chance to make it happen, and I think we can do it.
Paul, I actually have a question for you, so we can bring in the track perspective. Paul, arguably, or there's no argument about it, actually the best track rider in New Jersey high school sports. I'm sorry to have to throw a compliment at you, but even I have to admit that. So sorry for you people out there watching. What would you see for an indoor track season? Do you see that happening? How would they be able to have that while still keeping it safe?
First of all, the traditional indoor track season cannot happen. And because unlike basketball, wrestling, even gymnastics or volleyball, the number of kids that are part of a track team are much larger on the day-to-day basis with the levels. And because of the nature of the indoor sport, it's not financially feasible to have dual meets in track. You can't afford to rent Fairleigh or rent the Armory or rent Ocean Breeze or any place for a dual meet. I think I'm going to rename it winter track. If there's going to be winter track, it'll be like the old days, the old polar bear meets, where one coach will look at the weather report. Hey, Wednesday it's going to be 50 degrees and sunny, and it hasn't snowed. Hey, Coach so-and-so, bring your kids over to our track Wednesday at 3 o'clock. We'll do a 100-meter dash. We'll do a mile run. We'll throw the shot. We'll do a long jump, and we'll get some competition in. I know that the usual indoor meets run by the great group who did such a great job during cross country, they've been canceled. A lot of the people who are running them are people who are older, who are vulnerable in an indoor setting you can see even here, and that's not a particularly crowded meet here. There's a lot of people in a close situation. That's not going to happen. I'm curious, though, Greg, and the rest of you. Jay, you said you had a schedule. Jeff already came up with a schedule. What's your schedule? Do you have a dated schedule?
Yeah, we have a dated schedule. We have we're starting on the 21st of December on a Monday, I believe.
Right.
And it was 10 games, geography. It was New Milford, Powell Park, Leon, right in that area. And then you could schedule 5 more games, of which we've scheduled 3 so far. And that was going to be a 15 game. So there's a schedule out already.
And when would that have ended?
February 2nd.
February 4th, 3rd, I believe. Something like that. February 2nd or 3rd.
February 2nd.
February 2nd, okay.
Greg, I'm curious as to what you would think. Here's the Paul Schwartz proposal. First of all, as much as I agree with Jeff, the best thing is to get the kids into practice. I don't think it's reasonable until after the Christmas holiday because there are just too many ifs. I could see if they wanted to put people in from like the 10th to the 18th of December to do some preseason training and tryouts because it would have been 2 weeks past Thanksgiving. I could see them doing that, then shutting down again until like January 3rd or 5th after the Christmas holidays are over. But long term, and I sort of agree with Jay, I'd actually put volleyball and gymnastics. I would move it to that January 5th to February 15th area. Gymnastics, even though there are some schools that have it, it's a smaller sport. It's only girls. Volleyball is only girls. Maybe you have the one boys sport in there. I'm not sure which one. Maybe you could put wrestling in there because that's the boys sport, although clearly there are some girls wrestling. Then I'd go from February 15th to like April 1st. That would be my basketball season. And the reason I say that is early season weather in the spring outdoors is terrible. So why do I want to put kids out in mid-March and early April outside in miserable weather? Let basketball, maybe basketball goes to April 15th, okay? And then after that, start your spring season. Let your first competitions go May 1st and let them go to June 30th. And I think maybe that's the way you get everybody gets a season. We got to have everybody getting a season. Okay, let last spring be the only season that nobody got a chance to play. That's the way I do it.
We just need some direction, because are there only allowed 10 people in the gym? Because if you have tryouts, like I know we have one gym. So while we're practicing, where are the girls going to wait to practice? Where's the wrestlers going to rate? Can you use the bathroom? Can you use the locker room? Do you have to have a mask on? Like we were laughing the other day, when a kid comes out of the game, does he have to put a mask on? Or you have to label the masks? And I mean, it's none of us have any answers to this. And it's frustrating. That's why I love Jeff's idea. Give us some time to practice. And like you said, Paul, then start later. I have no problem with that. But we need guidance. We don't have any numbers, exactly what you can do with numbers. We have no idea.
My opinion on this is I would like to first try to get through the Thanksgiving holiday, see where we stand in regard to the numbers. Are they going up, or are they staying the same? Are they going down, which I doubt. I would love to see a week to 10 days of teams getting together for tryouts and practices. Jay, of course, he'll know that in his gymnasium, his empty gymnasium, that he will not be coaching from the wall side of the room, but rather he'll be on the stand side, and the kids will be spread out. So he'll be yelling at a different angle, but he will be closer to the clock in his gym, and that problem is solved. And they'll have a hall pass for the bathroom where you can put it around your neck with gloves on and a mask. I have much more confidence in Jay's kids, especially as he reminds them what they're supposed to do, that if they don't, the program could be shut down. I think that his kids are going to rise up, or at a small school like that, he wouldn't have that many wins. Whereas Jeff's problem is he's going to have 200 girls in the gym. It was the most kids I've ever seen at the first day or any day of practice. He may have to bring them in 30 or 45-minute increments to keep them spread out. And instead of having all the kids side by side, because he's got 20 kids on the bench, maybe he's going to have 3 or 4 rows, or he's going to have them spread out in those stands behind the bench, which usually don't necessarily get opened up during games. We will not start, or should I? Now I'm getting off on my horse here where I think I have all the answers. We should not start until after January 1st, because we're also going to have to get through New Year's night and day, and then come back and test everyone. And we're supposed to have a 15-game regular season, as Jay alluded to, and I think you can have up to maybe 4 postseason games. So my thought is, let's have a few practices or tryouts, as you want to call them, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Go on the break, come back, test the kids again, see who's healthy, if there's a problem, and then we start maybe the first or second week of January. We play our 10 or 11 game regular season and see where we stand. We know we're going to have teams going down for 2 weeks for the 14-day quarantine, as we have during the football season, especially. We've had teams go down, but a bunch of teams have gotten in 6 or 7 of the maximum 8 or 9 games, and that is way better than not playing at all or only playing 1 or 2 games. And I've talked enough. Paul, take it away.
No, I agree 100% with what you said. Guys, what would you tell your athletes? Because I'm sure a number of them are watching it today, and then we'll wrap up. Jay, what would you tell your athletes? How do you tell them to handle what's coming? Like
I've been telling them in text, for the last 9 months, be safe. If you can go to a park and wear a mask, be safe but you know something? Go by a park. The place is packed and nobody's wearing a mask. So you tell them what to do, but their kids and the adults are worse. So I am not an optimistic person. And New York closed down, and I would assume the NJSIAA tomorrow is going to tell you we're shut down to a minimum of January 15th. That's my guess.
Jeff?
What's the question, Paul?
What do you tell your kids right now in order to have the best chance of your having some sort of a season? What are you advising your kids that you want them doing?
Well, of course, I'm going to be similar to Jay. You got to stay safe, got to be healthy. We have to practice all the protocols, of course. But I'm also telling them that they should be prepared that the phone rings at 1 minute after midnight and it says, you can practice tomorrow. You better have your gear laid out and be ready to go, because there is no holding us back. So that's the way I approach it.
Greg, I think we've seen why these guys have been coaching for 48 and 42 years respectively, haven't we?
I absolutely agree. I'm honored that they came on as guests. Again, I am the young punk, and I've been doing this over 30 years. When the three of you started, I was probably in a stroller.
And when we're finished, we'll all be in strollers.
Yeah.
Well, being around these guys and covering high school sports keeps me young. So I'm looking to put up another 20, maybe. Who knows? But Paul, do you have any final questions?
Nope.
Jay, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I usually I'm very upbeat and positive, and I think we're going to get some type of season, and I can't wait to be around the kids. But Friday, I think New Jersey's following New York and Connecticut. So I hope that we can work something out so we all get to do some type of season before the end of June.
Jeff, final thoughts.
Well, my final thought first, I just remember, Greg, coming to your house one day, and you were shooting baskets in your yard. Do you remember this? I was rolling. Then you came in our gym and you were playing horse. You had your headband on and your shorts. You were crazy. I was loving all of that, and it's that kind of attitude that I'm taking. That we're going to start the same way, coming out with headbands. We're going to look like Will Ferrell. That's what we're going to be. We're all going to be happy. We're going to be fired up. Basketball, wrestling, winter. We're all weaker track is going to be together. We're going to have a grand old winter. It's going to happen. We're going to make the kids happy, and they're going to make us happy.
Well, I'm proud to be working in New Jersey. I'm proud that we worked our way through about 90% of the high school fall sports season. We did have some soldiers go down, but they did come back and continue the battle. I hope that the NJSIAA allows the winter sports soldiers to get on the field of battle and at least give it a try. Yes, soldiers will go down, but they'll learn lessons from this, and we'll get back. And this will be one of the most memorable years in New Jersey high school sports history. And I'm proud to be a part of that. That about wraps it up. We're going into overtime a little bit here, but with this group of people, we really deserve to do that. First, I'd like to say thank you to my co-host, Paul Schwartz, my favorite person to argue with. Paul, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
And I'd also like to thank Jeff Jasper, longtime Pascack Valley girls basketball. Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me on. Had a blast.
And Jay, equally longtime Bogota boys basketball coach. Always a pleasure to be in your gym. I look forward to shooting threes again in your gymnasium. Jeff, I'd love to get into your gym as well. It's a shooter's gym. And I want to thank you for watching. For all of us, I'm sports writer Greg Mattura. This has been Varsity Aces Live. Stay strong, New Jersey.